Coming up next on Executive Caterer's Summer Sports Series at Landerhaven, we're talking your Cleveland Cavaliers with Cavalier President Len Komoroski, General Manager Chris Grant, and Head Coach Byron Scott. The program will be moderated by Channel 5 Sports Director Andy Baskin.
From the Grand Ballroom of Executive Caterers at Landerhaven, it's Corporate Club's Summer Sports Series. The Summer Sports Series was created to give the sports fan an in-depth look at Cleveland's professional sports teams. In Northeast Ohio, the spotlight is on the Indians, the Browns, and the Cavaliers. If Cleveland is anything, it's a sports town. Our sports teams have been known for setbacks like the drive, the fumble, and the decision, but they're also known for their victories. We'll be talking about these moments in the upcoming program. This month's Summer Sports Series at Landerhaven starts now.
All right, Moondog, are we okay? Can I start now? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Moondog. Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Baskin from NewsChannel 5. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today with all of you today and to talk Cavalier basketball, one of my passions in my life. We're joined today by Len Komoroski, the president of the team, Byron Scott, the head coach, and Chris Grant, the general manager of the organization. We're going to take questions from you in a little bit, but I want to start things off with Len. And Len, just kind of give us a state of the team, because this franchise is really a great piece of our community right now, and it's not just basketball, it's a whole lot more.
Well, it all starts with Dan Gilbert, and Dan is, as we know, one of the people who are really passionate about the future of Cleveland, what's taking place here, what's happening, has doubled down literally in terms of his investment in the community, and it's been amazing. So we have 3,600 team members in total in the world of Dan. When you look at Northeast Ohio, between the Q, the Cavs, Monsters, Gladiators, Canton Charge now, but also Horseshoe Casino, Ritz Hotel, Veritix, our ticketing company, Quicken Loans Web Center just grew to 400 team members as well, Bisdom now open in Cleveland as well, and Fatheads Distribution Center. So we have a phase 2 that'll be coming with the casino as well. So it's been incredible when you think about Dan purchasing this team back in March of 2005, where we were Gund Arena and the Cavaliers, and to where we've come today. And I think, we're fortunate to have someone in Dan who just believes in Cleveland the way he does, and will give us the resources to be not only successful, but to achieve our dreams as a community. And we're fortunate with everything going on in Cleveland now, and I know a lot of you know we're $10 billion of investment going on in the city, an unprecedented amount of investment going on, and in downtown in particular, all these great assets coming online. And with Dan, we have a front seat in being part of that revival.
It's interesting to look at the Cavaliers not only as a basketball organization, but to even look at the casino and how the casino is integrated into the community more than just a play. It's not the casino isn't the destination, it's that the whole downtown area is the destination.
Well, I think, and this is really, again, a credit to Dan, and there was never an aspiration to get into the gaming business. What ended up happening was, as many know, 4 referendums had failed, and it was about, we saw that, and he saw there was an opportunity that this could become an engine for urban economic development. And going through the whole process, issue 3 was about taking these assets, having them be accretive to these downtowns, the largest urban markets in Ohio, and also the tax policy, being able to have the tax income come back for economic development as well. And what we've seen with Horseshoe Casino, prior to the opening of Horseshoe Casino, the number of downtown visitors for the great assets we have, whether it be the Q or Progressive Field or Brown Stadium, Playhouse Square, or the Rock Hall, you name it, there was about 5 million visitors annually coming downtown. The casino, Horseshoe Casino, will more than double that in 1 year. When you think about that, in terms of all those great assets and having that type of foot traffic, and we're already starting to see the vitality we're hearing about with Posley Cleveland. We just had a board meeting this morning Hotel occupancy rates were up more than double digits in the last 2 months. And we're seeing those trends continue to go in those directions. Restaurateurs, Michael Simon, talking about record grosses at the restaurants. And it's attracting, we saw the headline, Red, the restaurant moving in downtown. We're starting to see that spread as well. So there's a confidence, there's an energy, there's an excitement about that. And that's where the casino has become another piece of the puzzle, and that momentum is going to continue with the opening of the Medical Mart Convention Center in July and the Flats East Bank project in the first quarter as well. And we're just going to continue to see that development occupancy downtown for apartments at 97%, the highest it's ever been. More people living downtown Cleveland now than ever in its history. So that is all there. And again, Dan has that vision to say, how can these assets, how can this be part and parcel to what's happening there? And as much as we have going on here, I would just encourage you all to Google Dan Gilbert Detroit and see what's happening up there. And he's even taken it to a whole nother warp drive back in Detroit as well, about two great Midwestern cities that'll ultimately it'll be a situation 5 years from now, the rest of the country will look here and say, what the heck happened in Cleveland? Really. And we're getting a chance to live it, and like I said, have a participatory role to be able to help make it happen.
Is this a dream job for you? If you look back to when you were with the Lumberjacks the first time around and think about what Dan Gilbert's brought you and said, here's a truckload of money, go do what you need to do. I mean, is that what it feels like sometimes?
Well, you talk about so we got Carrie Buboltz and some other of our team. Carrie lived that with me, and Tracy Merrick and some others. We were just hopeful to get a date, for a game. We were, it was a totally different world back then. But I think with Dan, we have a very passionate organization that's passionate about knowing our role as a team and what it means to the community and how it connects everybody within, not only here, but from a receptionist all the way to the mayor to whoever else. Sports unites everybody in this community. And here we have someone in Dan who gives us that license to dream, provides the backing, the resources. We have an incredible culture organizationally where people are passionate about this market and believe that this is really a world-class destination, and it is. When we had the NBA Finals in 2007, 600 media people, 150 of them were international media and had never been to Cleveland before, and they were blown away by Cleveland. They knew we had a lake, but they thought that that they didn't know if you had to drive to it, but then they go down to the water and they figured they're going to see the other side, and it's an ocean, really when you look at it. So it's a totally different experience, and that people have a different perception of Cleveland, and we're going to break through that perception as a community because we have so much momentum going for us right now. There's a lot of great success stories with other markets out there that have been able to turn that tide. And the thing that we have, I would say, over a lot of those markets is we have more in the way of natural and existing assets than any of them. We just had I mentioned about Positive Cleveland. We had our board meeting this morning at the Cleveland Museum of Art, which is one of the, you may not know this, one of the top 5 museum of arts in the world. In Guggenheim, the Met. This is an art museum. It has a $350 million expansion, which is like adding a new arena. That's what a new arena would cost, onto it, and has an unbelievable collection. But that's here. And we have a lot. That's just one of many of those type of stories. And like I said, we're really fortunate to have that. And we have someone in Dan who, as he says, with Quicken Loans, his business that really launched all this, certainly from our world, Quicken Loans could operate anywhere. It's web center based, and he's chose to operate it in Detroit and Cleveland and these Midwestern markets. He said the best people in the country, in terms of the passion, the integrity, the character of the people here. But why should the West Coast and East Coast have all the fun? And literally, so when you think about that with Dan, so this has all happened within 7 years. So it really gets you excited about what's to come in the next 7 years.
Len, thank you. Let's move down. Byron. He did a pretty good job. If he was a head coach, I'd have enough stuff for about a month right there. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
And your summer's going great. You flew in just for this. Your son's getting married. I mean, think about that. He flew back here to meet with all of us today and talk and have a part of it. I think it just shows your commitment to this organization and your commitment to this city. So
thank you.
All right, now let's get to some post-game questions. How's Kyrie Irving doing?
Kyrie's doing fine. I wanted to listen to more of what Lynn was talking about. I really want to be Dan Gilbert's son, but I can't because I'm older than Dan Gilbert. You know, probably doesn't happen that often.
All you need is a bow tie. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, Nick and I have talked about that, and CG and I have talked about that as well. But you know, a lot of great things obviously going on in my life with my son getting married next week. Brand new granddaughter, you know, that's 3 months old. So I've been doing a lot of Goo and Gaga, and you know, the last couple of months, been having a lot of fun with that as well.
So wait, you're trying to say that you have a life outside of basketball and an actual family?
I do, actual family, and like I said, a granddaughter and son that's getting married soon. I don't have anything that I really have to do for the wedding except pay. You know, that's one of the bigger things, and obviously show up and give a little speech on how I'm excited about my new daughter-in-law to be, which I really am. She's a beautiful, beautiful young lady, right, CG?
That part is
she's
true.
Beautiful. And I tell my son how lucky he is to have her, and she's just a special person. So we're excited to have her joining the family.
Hey, can you talk about your Cleveland experience? When you came here, it might have looked like a different situation, but this community has embraced you, and you've embraced the community as well.
You know what? I've had so much fun, and I think Lynn is absolutely right when he talks about the perception of Cleveland around the United States. Everywhere I go in Los Angeles and different places, they ask, do you really like Cleveland? I say, yeah, I love it. I love the people. I love the ownership. I love this organization. I have so much fun working with this young man next to me, and I do call him young because I am older. You know, but the perception of Cleveland, you know, the mistake by the lake is what I've heard and all this other stuff, but all the things that are going on in downtown and just Cleveland in general is very exciting to me, and I can't wait for hopefully I'm here in the next 5 years where I can enjoy some of the things that are going to be going on at that particular time. And it's been fun for me being down here and meeting a lot of the people here in Cleveland and getting to know a lot of the people here and understanding how truly they are amazing as fans and how they love their sports teams. So that's something that I've really enjoyed, going out in the public and getting to know a lot of the people around and just spending time. To me, every city has a negative, no matter where you go. Los Angeles have negatives because it's the earthquakes. You know, if the only negative here is the weather, I mean, to me, that's not that bad. I was in New Jersey for 4 years. I mean, the weather wasn't that great either. You know, so I really have enjoyed my time here and looking forward to the future.
All right, you talked about being here for 5 years, so you know, we're just among friends here. There's just a little luncheon. Maybe we should talk about a contract extension for you right now, Chris, since you're sitting here.
Did you get a new agent?
I was getting to that point, but I figured we'll take care of that, you know, somewhere down the line.
I'm just trying to help you out.
I appreciate it too.
15, 20%, it's all good. Let's also bring in Chris Grant right now. Chris, and talk about your journey here with the Cavaliers right now, becoming the general manager, and then, you know, what it's meant to you and what you've learned over the last couple of years.
You know, it's been an amazing experience for me going into my 8th season here. Came aboard many years ago, it seems like, and the team's gone through a lot of changes. Through it all, Dan's been an unbelievable leader and visionary. We have gone from a pretty tough time when we hired Byron, and the team changed dramatically. LeBron left, and at one point, I think most of the NBA and a lot of the sports world looked at us as almost a graveyard. And basically, 23 months later, we have the Rookie of the Year. We have a second-team All-Rookie player. We have 2 other draft picks we're very excited about. We have a ton of flexibility. And now people are starting to look at us and say, oh, wow, you guys are the new Oklahoma City. You're the new Chicago Bulls. And so I think for us and for me personally, working with Byron has been tremendous. And I tell him all the time, you're unwavering in the face of adversity, because we've gone through some tough times together. And as a young person myself, being in this role, I basically just jump on his back. He doesn't know it, but I just jump on his back and follow his lead. So it's been an amazing journey the last 2 years. We're very early into this process, and we're very excited about it. We feel good about where we're going, feel good about what our guys are doing. Just for example, this summer, our coaches have done an amazing job. We currently have all of our players, with the exception of Kyrie, because he's still healing from his injury, are working out somewhere around the world. Obviously, Anderson Varejao just stopped playing in London, but all our other guys are working out and doing stuff with our coaches. And we're big believers that you got to grow from within. And we've seen that already with Alonzo G, with Kyrie, with Tristan, and we're seeing that now with Dion Waiters and Tyler Zeller and some of the players we've just signed. So Our coach has done an amazing job this summer, and we're excited to get into, what do you call it, Coach Scott? Is that right?
Yeah.
Coach Scott.
Coach
So
Scott's
hopefully he'll
camps,
actually be
yeah.
tough on him. So far, the last couple of years, he's been a little soft. So hopefully he'll actually be tough on the guys as they come in.
You're talking out the side of both your necks. Sometimes I'm too tough, I'm too soft. I mean, I get this every day, you know, but it's going to be an interesting camp this year, believe me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we talk about the core four, and we're going to talk about it before, but over the last 2 years, you've had 4 first-round draft picks and how they'll move this team forward. And can you kind of touch on how you look at them? And on the radio, we call them the core four because I think it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. You know, you never know what opportunity is going to be in front of you next. And for example, we got into this offseason, and C.J. Miles was a player that we liked a lot, but we didn't think that he was a candidate for us. We thought maybe he'd want to go to a different place. And with Kyrie and with Byron and some of the other guys that we have on our roster, he kept coming back to us. I really want to be there. I really want to be there. I think this is a place where I can jumpstart my career. And when we signed his contract yesterday and I was talking to him, so, you know, I look at these young guys that you have, and I'm 25 years old, and I came into the NBA right out of high school, and I know what it's like to be young, and I see their energy, and I see their excitement, and I'm drawn to that. And so for us, when we talk about growing from within, that's what we're talking about. And whether we call it the core four or whatever the term may be.
It's radio. We're just trying to have fun.
Understand. Those guys have done an amazing job for us. I mean, Kyrie coming into our organization as a 19-year-old seems like he's 30. The way that he handles himself, the way that he deals with the media, the way he deals with his teammates. We tease him all the time about growing up and being more mature, and he's probably a lot more mature than we even give him credit for. But part of our job is to be hard on him too. So we need to do that. Tristan's probably had the best offseason of all our players from a work ethic standpoint. He's done an amazing job. We're looking for him to take another big step. And Dion and Tyler, as 2 young players coming into our system, have done a nice job this offseason. So we're looking forward to growing with those guys. Obviously, we still have some other experienced players on our roster. We have 2 players on our roster that have played in the NBA Finals, and Daniel Gibson and Anderson Varejao. So we think it's a good mixture of guys. But there's going to be times where our young group struggles, and Byron as a leader will be pushing and demanding, and they'll fight back at times, which is good. That's part of the journey.
Byron, it was interesting in the beginning of the season when Kyrie and Tristan were kind of getting their sea legs in the NBA. You had said, I'm going to take these guys out to breakfast or lunch and let them know. Can you just talk a little bit about that transition of, I mean, you're in high school one day, you played a couple games in college, and now all of a sudden you're the rookie of the year. And what you need those guys to learn, especially the first couple of years.
Well, you know what, Kyrie is funny because if you let him tell a story, you know, some guys need 60 games in college. Some guys need 30 and some guys need 11, you know, and he played 11 games and got Rookie of the Year. So my conversation with both those guys obviously is different because they're 2 different basketball players and they're 2 different people. But just to try to relate to them, to just kind of let them know how tough this NBA life is, not only the basketball part, but outside of basketball, you got a lot of downtime and a lot of free time, and at times you really sometimes get bored. You know, you got to find things to kind of do to keep your interest. But those 2 guys understand that, you know, we rely on those 2 guys heavily last year, and we're going to obviously rely on them even more so this year. So their roles are going to be a little bit different. Kyrie has to be a little bit more of a vocal leader. And a lot of times at 19 years old, you know, you don't want to be vocal. You don't want to yell at guys like Andy Varejao, who's 28 years old. You know, you don't feel you've earned that right. And for the most part, you haven't. You know, so this year going into the season, I think he'll feel a little bit better about being that leader that we know he can be and that he will be. Tristan game, as CG said, I mean, this summer has been great for him. And that's the one thing that we didn't have last year. And I think a lot of people forget that you have a shortened season last year with the lockout. So you don't have all the time that we have now to put our hands on these guys to start to get them ready and prepared for an NBA season. And to get ready and prepare for my training camp in general has always been tough, you know, and I tell the guys all the time, I start making calls right now to players and ask them, are you in shape? And if you're not, you know, September 29th, 30th, October 1st is going to roll around real quick, and I'm going to have to put trash cans on the side, you know, for you guys who couldn't handle certain things that we're going to be doing, and you're going to be visiting that trash can every now and then, you know, so Kyrie knows it, Tristan kind of knows it, and they're trying to tell the other younger guys, And when you talk about the 4 guys that you were talking about, you know, and we talk about our 2 guys from last year and our 2 rookies this year, I don't think people really understand that, you know, those guys are 22, 20, 20, 20, and 21, something like that. I mean, we're a really, really young basketball team. So when CG said we're going to have our ups and downs, it's going to be some trying times, and there's going to be some times, you know, we're going to be button heads and things like that. But we're really excited about the future of the franchise and excited about where we are right now and the direction that we're going in. And we know right now we're one of those teams that has a chance to be pretty good in the future.
All right, we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that future and some of the new guys that were drafted this season. Also, want to find out a little bit about the art of the deal when we talk to Chris Grant in just a few moments. So we'll be back. We're going to take a quick time out, and we'll be right back here from Landerhaven.
Landerhaven was created for that special moment in people's lives, and that special moment is a wedding reception. From the concept to the decorations to the entrance down the staircase, creating the magic with great service, fine wine and food, an elegant wedding cake, beautiful grounds and gardens, unforgettable images. For a wedding reception you'll always remember, Executive Caterers at Landerhaven.
Is it getting so frustrating at your office that it's harder and harder and harder to get any work done? You need services you can count on, starting with business class phone from Time Warner Cable Business Class. Get business class phone and receive up to 6 months free internet or cable TV. Why put up with more frustrations than you have to? Enjoy our reliable solutions. Get business class phone and receive up to 6 months free internet or cable TV. Time Warner Cable Business Class.
You live in Ohio, you work in Ohio, and when you have questions about your health insurance, you like talking with someone who's right here in Ohio. That's why you carry the Medical Mutual card. Our card comes with the best customer service anywhere. More than 2,700 dedicated employees are right here in Ohio. It's our job to take care of your healthcare needs, so you can focus on what's most important, getting well. Medical Mutual, the official health insurer of the Cleveland Indians, Cavaliers, and Browns.
It's heard from the 52nd floor of the Terminal Tower and out past Lock 29, in an 18-wheeler heading west of the Firelands and in a pub in North Perry. If you listen, you can hear the sounds. It's the sound that tells us what's around the corner. It's the sound of our own backyard, the sound of home. It's the sound of ideas. Join us tomorrow on The Sound of Ideas, the region's premier talk show, starting at 9 a.m. on 90.3 WCPN, your all-day brain food.
For over 20 years, the monthly corporate club programs at Executive Caterers at Landerhaven have dealt with those issues which impact the lives of people living in northeastern Ohio. This series of monthly programs are content-driven. We ask questions of people who know the answers. They head up corporations. They serve in local government. They're committed to improve education, are involved in local professional sports. They are people who make the news, people who report the news. You've seen their faces. The questions we ask at the corporate club programs are important. What will it take to improve our educational system? Where is our national and regional economy headed? How do we move Cleveland forward? Where is the new leadership coming from? How do we attract and retain talented people to this area? How will University Circle develop? What will the Horseshoe Casino mean for Cleveland? What are the prospects for Cleveland's professional sports teams? Where is the money for medical research? What are the great things that are happening in this area? The takeaway from being a sponsor of the corporate club programs is that you'll be identified with major community concerns, that your company and you want to be involved with the important challenges facing this region.
And welcome back to Landerhaven. Executive Caterers here. We're talking with the Cavaliers as we do our summer sports series at Landerhaven. And then we're going to go back to Len Komoroski to start things off here in the second segment. I want to talk about fan support for this team, because we all know the ups and downs that this franchise has gone through in the past couple of years. But I think what's amazing is that the consistency from the Cavaliers to be able to maintain fan support, even when things aren't in great times. I mean, even when this team is losing, fans still believe, and I think a lot of that has to do with Dan Gilbert, but there's a much bigger package there.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about it just really speaks again to the passion of the fans in Cleveland. So when you look at it by land, by sea, by air, certainly attendance has been incredibly strong considering all that we've been through, and now our fans are so connected and excited and really believe in CG and Byron and where they're taking this team, as we all do from that end. But there's all these other measurements as well, too. Our television ratings, which is a measure of a much broader audience, and we've been in the top 5 in that realm. When you look at last season, I mean, that is pretty compelling in terms of overall numbers. Our web traffic is amongst the top 8 teams in the league overall. And then when you look at even factors such as merchandise sales, where those have been amongst the highest in the top 10 in the league. So all these different indicators just speak to, again, the audience out there, the fans, and the fact that they believe in this franchise, where it's going, and are really reflects incredibly well on the fans of Cleveland and their passion. And it really speaks to, this decision process and getting in control of our player development with the Charge and the NBDL team, our NBA Development League team. We went through a process of looking at 7 different markets throughout our footprint, which would be Ohio. It's basically the state of Ohio, Western PA, Western New York, Northern West Virginia, which is a pretty sizable region from that end. And we ended up in Canton, and it's really Canton speaks to the southern part of Cleveland, Akron, Canton to that marketplace. But we've been incredibly just excited about how successful that franchise has been, how it's been embraced by that community, and the support that team has received as well. So any way you look at it, anywhere we go, we can see that passion, that support, and those other numbers we talked about that maybe aren't as evident when you're at a Cavs game, and the energy that crowd brings, and our game presentation crew, and we saw a few of the members here with Ahmad and Moondog and Sir Cece, and out here today is considered to be the best at what they do in the league. Not just saying that in lip service, that's what the NBA considers our event presentation to be. That whole package coming together, coupled with the passion that the fans bring in Cleveland, really just creates a very special atmosphere that you can just see as the team continues its rise. It'll get ready to explode on the whole of Northeast Ohio.
Len, I think the other thing that I've noticed in just talking to season ticket holders across the board, and not to compare one team to another here in Northeast Ohio, but the perks for a season ticket holder for the Cavaliers seem to be very, very good. And I noticed that at different events, even going back to the casino, I mean, those are season ticket holders that were in there the first night.
Well, the other part of it too, and this is really a credit and a testament to CG and Byron and their respective crews too. And we have a great member of our group here, member of our team out here who do a tremendous job of connecting our fans with our franchise. So, and with our players, so our players and our leadership in terms of connecting directly with our fans, whether it be at events we hold at Cleveland Clinic Courts or at the Q or otherwise. And I know you guys enjoy it too, just getting to see the fans one-on-one and being able to talk basketball, which we all love to talk to that end. So I think more amongst all the other benefits we have, we're just really fortunate to have not only tremendous minds and people leading the charge, but also having a team as a whole that really appreciates connecting with the fans on an intimate basis, on a one-on-one basis, and really getting a chance to make that bond complete.
Byron, I want to go back to basketball for a second. I think one of my favorite quotes since you've been here, and I think it was about Kyrie, and perhaps it was Baron Davis that was coming in, and they said, well, don't you like having a veteran point guard that can come here to make sure that Kyrie does what you want? And your quote back was, I don't need a veteran point guard to do that. That's why I'm here. And I kind of think that sets the tone for everyone across the board in how you try to teach these players.
Well, I think it does. I mean, it's great to have veterans, and obviously veterans can really help a lot of the youngsters, but I also believe if you have a veteran, coaching staff and guys who have been there, like myself, who have been in some of the situations that Kyrie is going to face on the basketball court, it helps to have somebody who's able to relate to you. And me being I wouldn't say point guard, but an ex-guard, I know some of the things that he's going to have to face, and it was easy for me to be able to talk to Kyrie. He was one of those young guys that listened, and he kind of took it all in. I just had to deal with him giving me a bunch of crap about the short shorts that we wore most of the time. But other than that, I told him that was for wind resistance. We were able to run so fast. But other than that, he was very receptive of anything that you would give him that would help him be a better basketball player. And I told him that's my job, is to push you as hard as I can to make you be the very best basketball player that you can be. And obviously he came away with Rookie of the Year, and this year obviously we expect him to play much better.
It is interesting. I always wonder, because we're inside the bubble here in Northeast Ohio, when you see a player like Kyrie Irving, and we've seen special players come through here before, to not compare one special player to another player. And I think that we get into that. But also listening to other guys around the NBA talk about Kyrie Irving, he really is a special guy. And how do you not judge him against any other special guys?
I think the comparisons are always going to be there no matter what you say. I mean, when we first talked about Kyrie, the first comparison that came to mind was Chris Paul. It was a guy who I coached in New Orleans. So when I watched Kyrie play, I was like, man, they do have a lot of similarities. But the one thing I could say about the two, Kyrie came in at 19-year-old, Chris came in at 20. And at that particular point at the end of the season, Kyrie's probably a better basketball player than Chris Paul was at this early stage of his career. So it says a lot about where Kyrie is and a lot of potential that he has to be a great point guard. But when you get other guys in the NBA talking about you, then that's when you're making some hay. And we got an opportunity to see him down in Vegas, with the Olympic team, go against those guys on a day-to-day basis. And the first day they kind of handed it to him pretty good. The next day or the next couple of days, he made some people in that gym just kind of stand up and say, wow, he's probably the best point guard out there. So he's going to have his ups and downs, just like he did last year. But when you got other people in the NBA talking about you, the one thing I think it does, it makes it a little bit harder for you as a player, so that means he's just going to have to continue to work.
When you go back to thinking about him selecting him first overall, I mean, there were hesitations. People would say, what are the Cavaliers doing here? They're taking a guy that really hasn't played in college. The two of you together and Byron first, was it a slam dunk? There was no question about it. And we saw the way this class played out last year that you were 100% right. But did you have butterflies in your stomach saying, maybe?
Well, I know I was probably a little unsure until we got an opportunity to work him out because of some of the history that we were hearing. But when I got him on the basketball floor and worked him out for 2.5 hours, when he was done, I was convinced he was the best player in the draft. But we didn't let him know that, you know what I mean? We just worked him out, and he came in and said, Coach, you got me pretty good. That was a pretty hard workout. But just going against him and having some shooting games against him and then really putting him through a real intense physical workout, when it was all said and done, I was pretty convinced that he was pretty special.
Chris, same thing. And I mean, I think the amazing thing about managers or general managers in any situation is if something works out, you're the greatest general manager ever. And if it doesn't work out, oh, what was that guy thinking? My fantasy team is way better than that general manager's, right? And so did you have that same kind of feeling with Kyrie?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you take a player that only played, I think it was 303 minutes, it's the first time it's ever happened in the history of professional sports. The guy's got number one. And we went through the process. And I think there was a point where Byron and I came into my office and we kind of shut the door and sat down and said, he's clearly the best player in the draft. Obviously, there's a medical concern. If we're going to swing, let's swing. Let's go for it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we went into this together knowing that he's the best player and we're going to take a swing at the best player. So it was obvious after spending time with him. I actually flew to New York to meet him after he came in and worked out for us to spend more time with him because it isn't just his talent, but when you're taking a player at that level and that high, you want to make sure he's about the right stuff. You want to make sure he's going to be a fabric of your community. You want to make sure he's going to be a leader. He's going to do the right things. I mean, he's in our practice facility right now on the treadmill. He can't do anything because of his hand, but he's there working. And at 20 years old, a young kid like that, spending most of his time in a place where he's not from, is pretty good. And so from our standpoint, there was some risk, obviously, because it hadn't been done before, but we got together and said, if we're going to do this, let's do it.
Or you can just turn around and tell everyone you were scouting him since he was 3 years old and you knew exactly what you were doing. It was all good. Now, I want to ask you, and I talk a little bit about the art of the deal, and and you can't talk about any players that play on any other team. So when we go to ask you questions, if you want to get the team fined, it would be on you. So I don't want to guilt you, but you can't ask any questions about people that are playing for other teams because that would be tampering. But there have been plenty of stories that have been out there over the past couple months with free agency and with a healthy salary cap opening there for you to maybe participate in what might be a major trade out there. I'm just trying to say this the right way. So my question for you is, when you hear what's going on, and I'm taking this from the fans' perspective, when you hear what the fans are hearing, what should they think? Because I mean, I read articles, I talked to people that I believe know, I've heard things from here, from there, that it was close, it's almost done, or it's not. What should you believe as a fan when you hear us in the media kind of yapping?
Yeah, I would say the media world's changed dramatically in the last 13, 14 months. 5 or 6 years ago, and maybe even a little sooner, 3 or 4 years, usually there was a report that came out. Generally, it was pretty close, but it came out 3 or 4 days, a week, 2 weeks after maybe that conversation had taken place. There's thousands of conversations that go on between general managers, not just in basketball, but in all sports. That's part of our job, is to make the team better. So you're going to constantly be calling, making offers, trying to negotiate deals. But with Twitter now, if somebody gets a hold of it, it can just explode quickly. And a lot of times it's things you can't control. I mean, there was well-documented 2 situations this summer that people had us involved or close to being done with the deal where we hadn't even spoken to the teams. So it's not something we can control internally. It's unfortunate sometimes for our fans because that can be the leading voice versus our voices. We're not allowed to publicly comment on any of those things per NBA rules. But the media world has drastically changed in the last 12, 13 months with Twitter. I think some of it's good, some of it's bad because you're not always getting the truth. So we're internally still working through how do we manage that appropriately, because we want our fans to get the right message. We don't want them to be misled, and we also have to manage expectations, not just publicly with our fans, but with our own players. You know, from our standpoint, if there's a rumor that gets out there that's not true, our players read that too. Our players get those tweets too. Their family members see that stuff. They think they're being traded, or they think they're moving, or they think they're going to some random city. So we spend a lot of time when that stuff happens doing damage control. And no, you're not being traded. No, you're part of the team. You know, your family, everyone's fine. Don't worry. If something happens, we'll tell you. And those are the things that go on with the players that you don't always see or that aren't reported that are difficult to deal with.
Can you talk about this year's draft and Dion Waiters and Tyler Zeller? And, you know, I think when you have the number 1 pick, you got the whole board. But when you've got the number 4, now you've got to look and you've got to see what other teams are doing. And you've got to figure out what's best for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, we're thrilled with our draft, first of all. We knew Dion was not going to be great in Summer League because a team had shut him down and guaranteed to take him in the draft. And they told him, go to Philadelphia, go to a hotel room, don't do anything. We don't want anybody to see you. You do that to any athlete at any sport, they're going to be rusty. So he was rusty in Summer League, hurt his knee a little bit, but he still did some things that got us excited. But through our whole process and our scouting group with Trent Redden and David Griffin and the guys that work in that department, they did a fantastic job. We had Tyler and Dion both ranked in our top 10. So to be able to get 2 players that you had ranked in your top 10 in a draft in 1 year, for us is like hitting it out of the park. So we were excited. We thought Tyler was very underrated. We think he'll be a high-end backup, a possible starter for his entire career. And he's big and he's smart and he knows how to play. He can pass, he can shoot the ball. He fits in very well with how Byron would like to play, using the Princeton stuff. Fits into pick and roll with Kyrie and Dion. And, you know, what's interesting too as we go through this process in the draft is all these players, all of our guys are so young, they all know each other. Dion and Kyrie have played together already. Tyler and Kyrie have played together. Tristan and Dion and Kyrie had played together because they play so much basketball during the summer in AAU. So these guys have a bond already as they've come in, which is nice, which helps us as a young team when we start to go through adversity and so on and so forth. Those guys will fight through it pretty well.
Byron, what do you think of your rookies?
Well, I love them. I think CG hit it right on the head. You know, we knew Dion wasn't going to be great in Summer League, but he did show enough, especially offensively, to say, man, you know, this kid's going to be good with the ball in his hands as well. So Tyler, I just love the way he plays. He's just very, very solid basketball player that understands how to play the game, runs the floor extremely well, and a lot bigger than people think he is. I mean, he's close to 7'1", and, you know, he still has a lot of room to grow physically, but very, very intelligent on the basketball court and knows how to play. I think he can play with Andy. He can play with Tristan. You know, you can throw different combinations in there because he's big enough and smart enough to play the 4 or 5, so he gives us some flexibility on both ends of the floor. So I'm excited. The fact that he dropped to 17, we were all sitting in the war room going, you know, what's the problem? You know, and I think I said this at the press conference. His only negative about the young man is that he was a senior. He was a senior in college, and everybody else is getting drafted as freshmen and sophomores because of potential, you know. So if he would have came out last year, he probably would have been a lottery pick. And unfortunately, you know, for him, but fortunately for us, you know, we were able to make the trade with Dallas, you know, swap picks and get him at 17. And when we did that, I was so excited. I walked out the war room, went to my coaches, and told them, "Hey, we just hit a home run."
That's awesome.
You know, so we're excited about our group.
Chris brought up something about these guys that have already played together. What do you think of AAU basketball and how it's influenced the program?
I don't think much of AAU basketball, so you know, I mean, I think it's great, but I think a lot of times when we get the kids, because of AAU basketball and because they've been with this team and they're not happy with this team because the coach is not doing this or he's not allowing him to do whatever he wants to do, so he'll go to another team, and that coach is scared to lose him, so he lets the guy do what he wants to do. So I'm not a big fan of it. It's a lot different than it is now than it was back in the day when I played. It wasn't even the AAU back then. It was BCI or something crazy. But I think a lot of the young guys that we get in the league now, you know, they're so used to being spoon-fed and given everything that we almost have to break some of the habits and, you know, and kind of teach them, no, this is the way the game is supposed to be played, and you're going to do it this way, or you're going to have a nice little seat on that bench, you know, next to one of the assistant coaches. So I'm not a real big fan of AAU, as you can tell.
I was curious. This commercial brought to you for the AAU by Byron Scott. All right, when we come back, we're going to take your questions from the floor as we continue on here at Landerhaven, our summer series with the Cleveland Cavaliers at Landerhaven. We'll be right back.
For a wedding reception you'll always remember, Executive Caterers at Landerhaven.
Is it getting so frustrating at your office that it's harder and harder and harder to get any work done? You need services you can count on, starting with business class phone from Time Warner Cable Business Class. Get business class phone and receive up to 6 months free internet or cable TV. Why put up with more frustrations than you have to? Enjoy our reliable solutions. Get business class phone and receive up to 6 months free internet or cable TV. Time Warner Cable Business Class.
You live in Ohio, you work in Ohio, and when you have questions about your health insurance, you like talking with someone who's right here in Ohio. That's why you carry the Medical Mutual card. Our card comes with the best customer service anywhere. More than 2,700 dedicated employees are right here in Ohio. It's our job to take care of your healthcare needs, so you can focus on what's most important, getting well. Medical Mutual, the official health insurer of the Cleveland Indians, Cavaliers, and Browns.
Curiosity inspires us to explore our world with open eyes and an open mind. It invites unique experiences we can learn and grow from. It's an essential root of our culture. So, when does culture meet with curiosity? Around noon. Listen with curiosity. Join the conversation tomorrow around noon on 90.3 WCPN, your all-day brain food.
And welcome back to the summer series here at Landerhaven. We are talking Cavalier basketball with Len Komoroski, the president, Byron Scott, the head coach, and Chris Grant, the general manager of your Cleveland Cavaliers. We are going to open the floor up to questions, so if you have a question, just raise your hand, and we're going to start on this side of the stage. And please say your name so we know who you are.
David Weiss.
David Weiss.
On? Now it is. First of all, I want to say as a fan that I can't remember a coaching and management team that I've had more confidence in through the years in Cleveland, and I talk to a lot of people who feel the same way, so you're doing a great job. Having said that,
this question
you might disagree with the leading up to the draft. You know, a lot of us were watching the local national commentators, and everybody's got their list of the top 10, 15 prospects, top point guards, top two guards, and a lot of those lists didn't have Dion Waiters on them. And so I guess I'm asking you, why do you suppose there wasn't a lot of buzz about him before the draft?
You know, it's a great question, and we challenge our guys internally, our scouts, our scouting department, to rank every player that's in the draft, regardless if they're in the draft or not, during the entire season. We call it our top 30, to rank them for the entire season. And the entire season, he was always in our top 10. Now, we can't control whether a certain media outlet or a commentator or somebody that hasn't been to 6 or 7 Syracuse college basketball practices, hasn't spoken to every person on campus there with regards to strength coach and doctors and assistants and assistant coaches and so on and so forth. So for us, you know, those things, although they may seem unlikely or unpopular outside of our room, for us, he was always ranked as the top 2 guard in the draft, or one of the top 2 guards in the draft. So that's something that's always difficult to control. So we talked about earlier with the media stuff. It's difficult, but for us, he was always ranked high. He was always a player that we looked at that could play multiple positions, had size for the position, could handle the ball, could run pick and roll, could create, could shoot, could get in the lane, gets to the free throw line. So for us, it was a pretty easy decision at 4.
Let's go to our next question.
Harold Anderson. Question for Coach Scott. I was fortunate enough to be in Los Angeles in 1985 when you were in the second year with Los Angeles Lakers. Funny, we was talking about AAU and different programs at that time. At that time, hit the Inglewood Summer League. I was standing in the hallway with a bunch of other folks, and you were speaking to a bunch of basketball guys about players. A name came up, Ronnie Lester. You spoke very highly of Ronnie Lester. A couple years later, I think he tore out his knee. My question to you, how do you compare Kyrie Irving to Ronnie Lester when you first got to Los Angeles?
Wow, that's a good question. And it also shows how old you are, too. You was watching me at 85. I don't know if a lot of people in here even heard of Ronnie Lester. Ronnie Lester was a kid that played at Iowa University. Tremendous athlete, tremendous basketball player. Tore his ACL in college, and then, you know, he kind of dropped in the draft, and then, you know, we had him in Los Angeles. He was just a great fit, a great glue guy. But Ronnie, compared to Kyrie, Ronnie was, you know, so much more athletic, and Kyrie's pretty athletic, you know, which is something that we found out in our workout as well with him. He was pretty athletic, but Ronnie Lester had a chance to be better than Isaiah Thomas if he had stayed healthy. That's how good Ronnie Lester was. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Unfortunately for him, you know, he had the injuries and wasn't able to really live up to his expectations and his true talents. Because when I saw him play, even after the 2 ACLs, he was still pretty good. You know, but you know, Kyrie has again, we're talking about a 20-year-old who has a long way to go as far as reaching, you know, the type of heights of some of these other great point guards, but he definitely has it in him. But Ronnie Lester, that's a great name and was a great basketball player.
We're going to go back over to this side. If you have a question, all you need to do is raise your hand.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Fred Wright. I'm the president and CEO of the Akron Urban League. And my question has to do with the fact here in Northeast Ohio has been starving for a major sports team championship since 1964 when Jim Brown beat the Baltimore Colts, and I'm from Baltimore. So, but in terms
so you feel
of,
our pain, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, but a lot of pain. But in terms of the Cavaliers, in a timeline in making the playoffs onto an NBA championship, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, what do you guys feel in what type of timeline to move the Cavaliers to an NBA championship?
I haven't really thought about it. To be honest with you, our whole thing is to make sure our players continue to get better and better. I think the wins and losses, all that stuff kind of take care of itself. We have some young guys right now who we feel real good about if they continue to develop the way they're developing. And this summer has been fantastic for our guys, and we continue to talk about the progress of our guys and the process of making this continue to work and get better and better each year. That's our main goal. That's our number one objective right now, is continue to get our guys better and better each and every day, so when the season starts, that they're ready to accept this challenge. As far as when that's going to happen, really haven't thought about it. At least I haven't from a coaching standpoint, and this man has been great. He hasn't put that type of pressure on me as far as make the playoffs this year or next year or 2 or 3 years. It's all about making sure these young guys continue to grow as a group, and when it happens, it's going to happen, and hopefully it'll happen soon.
Chris, you're not going to get off that easy on this question. Look, I mean, you've got to weigh that decision every time. When you've got cap, you've got to say, is this a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan if you're going to bring in somebody like that, don't you?
Yeah, we don't really put limits on it. We didn't put any limits on Kyrie, for example, last year, so we're not going to put limits on our team or individuals. We know we have one really good player, and he has a chance to be better than that. Now he's got to work, and Byron's got to be tough on him, and he's going to grow, and we know Tristan's got a chance to be very good. We know Dion has a chance to be very good, but we're in the beginning stages of that. We've had Kyrie on our team for 13 months now in a lockout shortened season. One great thing about this franchise is that we have an owner that wants to win a championship. And so he's willing to go through the pain to put the team in position to have the kind of flexibility that we have to get there. We need to continue to add more good young players that can grow together. One of the things we did from a research standpoint when we started this process 2 years ago was we looked at the ages of superstar players that play together that win championships. And there's basically, on average, between 2 and 2.5 years of separation or difference between your two best players. So for us, we want to add as many players in that 19 to 20 to 21 year age and let those guys grow together. So we don't just want to make the playoffs for 1 year and then we have to retool again. We want to have long-term sustainable success. And we're in a position with an owner and a group and a coach that understands that and sees that vision, and that's what we work towards every single day. Now, it may happen tomorrow. It may not happen for 3 weeks or for a year. We're not going to put any limits on that. We just know if we continue to work hard and put ourselves in a position from a flexibility standpoint, which we are, we'll have the best opportunities in front of us.
Chris, I know, and we'll get to the next question, but I just want to follow up on this again too, that fans always want to talk about, and it drives me crazy because I want teams to make the playoffs, and I think you want, and we talked about this before, these guys don't ever go to work saying, oh, we want to lose because we don't want to be a 7 or 8 seed. But that no man's land there where you're a 7 or 8 seed and now you're looking at a lower draft pick. I mean, when you think about what you do, where do you want to be in that process? And when fans start getting a little antsy about, hey, I don't know that I want these guys to be an 8 seed because I want them to have a better draft pick. I say I want to see Kyrie Irving in the playoffs. I don't care what seed it is. I'm sure you hear this.
Yeah, obviously we definitely hear it. We do not want a culture of losing, and that does not exist. You can be a good organization and go through tough times. And from our standpoint, we feel like we've gone through some of those tough times. It's not going to get any easier. We got a young group that's got to grow, that's got an 82-game season, not a 66-game season in front of them. And we're going to have our challenges. We want to be a team that once we make the playoffs, we're continuing to make the playoffs. So we go from, okay, we're the 8th seed. Maybe we win or lose a round, who knows? But then the next year, we're the 4th seed. Now we have home court advantage. Then we're the 2nd seed. Then we're possibly the 1st seed. So we want to continue to climb that ladder. We don't want to stop short. We don't want to get in 7 or 8 and then be out for 2 or 3 years. We want that long-term sustainable success.
All right, you passed my test. Thanks. Next one.
My question is in regards to the rules and the officiating. And my observation in recent years is that they've gone wrong. And I wonder how it affects each one of the three people on the panel, because it affects the NBA, if I'm right. But they're making these calls now, and they're penalizing the offensive players and the defensive players in many of these cases. And it's gotten so bad that last year, as an example, the Celtics were using it to their advantage until they played Miami. And when they played Miami, Miami had the advantage. And I think it's because the more skilled players can actually run into somebody with the ball, and they call that on the defensive man. And I just wonder what their comments is on it.
I can go first. I can't
make sure you don't get fined here.
So, yeah, this stays in the room, right? Oh, this is being taped. I love referees. I love referees. You know what? To be honest with you, I think the referees in the NBA probably had the toughest job of any officiating crew in all of sports, because our guys are so much bigger, faster, stronger, and they're smart. Our guys understand how to take the rules and kind of bend them just enough to make it play in their favor. You know, so there's never going to be a perfect game call. You know, do I at least think that, you know, a lot of the so-called superstars get the superstar treatment? Yeah, pretty much. You know, they get a little bit more leeway, but as a whole, I understand how tough it is for the officials because of the type of athletes that we have on the floor. They have a tough job every night, and not only the 17,000, 18,000 fans that's jumping on them, but you got players, coaches, you know, so I do sympathize with them at times. I didn't in Toronto, I guess, because I got kicked out the game, but you know, for the most part, I do understand that they do have a very, very tough job, and we always have a rule committee talking about certain rules that we feel should be changed for the upcoming season that they'll take to the committee, but for the most part, I really do think they have a tough job, and they do a pretty good job at it.
All right, before we wrap things up, we want to bring Harlan Diamond up for a second. Harlan, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Andy.
I got to thank, by the way, I just got the bill for my bar mitzvah from like 20 years ago. Thanks for not charging us interest.
Thanks again. It was a pleasure to do your bar mitzvah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here. This is an honor. It's an honor to have a group of this nature who really loves and believes in Cleveland. Please thank Dan Gilbert for all that he's doing and has done. I want to know whether you guys want to come back next year before or after the playoffs. Okay.
Thank you for the hospitality. Big round of applause for our guest, Chris Grant, the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Byron Scott, the head coach, and Len Komoroski, the president. Have a great day. We'll see you on News Channel 5 down the road. And thank you all for attending the Landerhaven Summer Luncheon Series.
The Corporate Club at Landerhaven returns on Wednesday, September 12th with our election special. Representing the Republicans, we have Bob Bennett, chairman of the Ohio State Republican Party, and Rob Frost, chairman of the Cuyahoga County Republican Party. Representing the Democrats, we have Chris Redfern, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, and Stuart Garson, chairman of the Cuyahoga County Republican Party. The program will be moderated by WJW's Emmy Award-winning anchor Bill Martin.
Corporate Club's Summer Sports Series is brought to you by Executive Caterers at Landerhaven, a special place for special occasions. Medical Mutual of Ohio, Ohio's Get Well card, offering health plans for life. Time Warner Business Class, making more of every minute with the speed you need. Inside Business Magazine, your source for business in Northeastern Ohio. News Channel 5 on your side. 90.3 Idea Stream, the all-day brain food. Signs PDQ, professional, dependable quality. And Jones for printing services. Supporting sponsorships are brought to you by the Greater Cleveland Partnership, a catalyst for change. Northern Ohio Chambers of Commerce. A portion of the proceeds of the corporate club at Landerhaven benefits junior achievement of Greater Cleveland.